Can you get back a little bit? Back a little bit more. You're supposed to be 6 foot apart. We're social distancing here. It's the end of April 2020, and we'd better get used to it. I'm Jeff Gravatt. Thanks for tuning in to my YouTube channel, Jeff Gravatt Marketing. Today on the show, we're going to show you a great show, an edition of Let's Go Racin' from June of 1991. I did the video work on that. I'm proud to still do video work. If your race team needs a video for a sponsor or for your social media or Facebook page, perhaps your website, give me a ring. I also do videos for small businesses all the time. Later on, I'll show you more as we move through the months here on Jeff Gravatt Marketing YouTube channel. Now getting to this week's show. It's a great one. We talked to a driver who many considered the king of the street stocks at the Speedway. Harry Hurley will be back with a racing veteran. My friend Tom Crossan, well, he'll talk to another fan in the stands. And of course, we have all those great racing results from the night of June 15th, 1991. Almost 30 years ago. Hard to believe. I know I look the same now as I do on the videos. Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Please like the video if you do like it. And please subscribe to my channel, and that way you'll know whenever a new video pops up. I'm Jeff Gravatt. A lot of great action from 1991 coming up tonight on Let's Go Racin'.
Tonight on Let's Go Racin', we'll look at the Wall Stadium highlights of June 15th. We'll also talk to street stock champion Rich Moncho. The technical inspectors are racing's cops on patrol in the pit area. We'll talk to them. Plus, Harry Hurley will talk with another racing legend, and Tom Crossan will chat with a fan in the stands. Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Gravatt. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Go Racin'. Next up, highlights of tonight's racing action. Continued his rampage in the modified stock car division, winning the non-stop Sinton Septic Company 35-lap main event in record-setting time last Saturday night. Siscone's fourth win of the season clocked in at 7 minutes, 25.76 seconds. When the modified field attempted to start the contest, a record-setting time was the farthest thing from anyone's mind. First, Tony Siccone's Garden State Autobody 51 spun in turn 4, triggering a scramble that saw Clark Van Buskirk spin his 41 to the infield, and Gil Hearn bumped the first turn fence with car number 12. The second caution saw Siccone's 51 and Brad Creighton's 38 tangle on the front stretch. Among the victims of the twin cautions were John Blewett Jr. in the 76 and Jack Lippett in the 70, who were both out of the contest before one lap was ever registered. Once the green flag finally flew, Harry Reid's 55 jumped to the lead and paced Don Wagner's 24 for the initial 10 laps. As Reid's 55 led the way, Siscone worked his way through the pack. By the 10th lap, Siscone's 14 was right on the bumper of the 55. By the 12th lap, Siscone raced around Reid on the high groove of turns 3 and 4 to take the eventual win. Soon Martin Truex in the 59 and Gil Hearn in the 12 followed Siscone through for second and third. Reid and Wagner held on for fourth and fifth. Modified race winner Tony Siscone. 4 feature wins, you have to be excited.
Oh yeah, we're definitely excited, the whole team and myself. It's, it's a team effort, and we just can't believe it. Things like tonight, it just fell our way. We started 11th, and before the race really got started, a couple of guys were just over anxious, moved us right up in the 8th spot, and you had 35 laps to go, so I could be patient and try to get the job done.
Now, you made your move for the win before halfway. Any trouble getting by there? Tell us about that path for the win.
Well, Harry Reid was leading the show, and, he made it tough. I mean, he gave me some room, but just enough room, and we came together a little bit a couple of times, and, we both held on, and, Harry tried to intimidate me a little bit, and we were able to pull excellent outside move, which surprised me. It shows you how well prepared our car is because the track was really oiled up. John Blewett, unfortunate for him, I guess an oil plug fell out of rear and he really greased the track up bad, and there was a lot of speedy dry that they put down to dry up the oil, and it just made for a very slick outside groove. But the big red 14, she got the job done on the outside, and we were able to get by Harry and go in for the victory.
Tony, you've mentioned to me before your engine is 5 years old. You're looking forward to updating. When is that motor going to be ready, and what do you expect once you do have the new motor in the car?
Well, our Chevys are prepared by John Betts of McBetts Racing Engines out of Long Island, and John does a heck of a job for us. The reliability and the power, it's obvious, but we are getting a new set of heads and pistons and updating our motor finally. Contrary to the disbelief of a lot of people, you know, our motor isn't John's best shot right now. It runs super, but supposedly we're going to have some more power in the next week or two.
Puff of smoke coming out of the engine in the corners once in a while. Were you worried about that?
No, it's been doing it for a couple of weeks. When I get back in the throttle, it puffs a little bit out the exhaust, again showing the wear, and you know the valve guides and the heads are worn and they need to be replaced, and the motor's kind of tired.
Well, the motor may be tired, but good enough to get the job done, am I right?
Oh, that's for sure, you know, and it's just a real credit, as I say each week. You know, Tony Siscone wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for a quality team that Dick Barney puts together and his son Robert, and you know, we did it on the Sunoco Racing Gas and, you know, Goodyear Tires and Brick Starter, Linola Auto Mall, John McCall, McBetts Racing Engines. They just do a super job, and without all that effort put forward by those people, Tony Siscone wouldn't be anything.
Dave Michael in the 60 finally broke his string of tough luck to win the 30-lap Modified Affordable Division feature race Saturday night, his 35th victory at the Speedway. Don Fataruso in the 42 was the leader at the drop of the green, but the action slowed on the 8th lap when Kenny Johnson slowed his number 20 in the 4th turn, dropping moisture on the Speedway. When action resumed, Rick Moriello in the 65 was hot on the tail of the leader and was there to overthrow Fataruso by the 10th lap. Meanwhile, Michael 60 was charging through the field and moved into position to challenge Moriello 65 by the halfway mark. Michael made his winning move in turns 1 and 2 on the 18th lap and never looked back. Even a lap 26 caution, caused when DJ Donofrio 68 looped in turn 2, didn't slow Michael in this one. Moriello 65 hung on for second, with Bobby Walton 66 third, Robert Schlitwig 54 fourth, and point leader Ray Horner 76 fifth. Modified Affordable Division winner Dave Michael. It's been a tough year thus far. Tell us about it.
Well, I got a monkey on my back. I hope it's gone. It's been rough.
Now, of course, tonight with this feature race win, it had to feel good. How far back in the field did you start?
10th or 12th, I think it was.
Any trouble getting through the pack? Tell us about your drive to the front.
It was fairly easy until I got the lead and had a little rough time with Rich, but it was all right.
Was a tough time getting by Rick Moriello. How about after you were out in front?
It was like a Sunday drive after that.
Tell us about sponsors on car number 60.
I got Hagman Racing Engines, my big sponsor, Butterick Balkan, and a couple of little sponsors, Haynes Garage. Looking for the big one now.
All of them help you out, though. How about your crewmen? They work hard.
Yeah, I got Keith King, Sheridan Haynes, Sammy Sprague, my dad.
Now, you're the winningest driver in Modified Affordable Division history here in the Garden State. How many wins do you have now?
This makes 35, but it was a long time coming.
Modern stock point leader Ray Gastelu in the 69 got back to his winning ways Saturday night as he topped the 25-lap main event. The victory was Gastelu's third of the campaign. Rich Ely in the 5 jumped out to the lead at the start with Harry Havens 75 in tow. Gastelu was up to a challenging position before the caution light winked on for the only time in the event on lap 6 when Mike DeSantis 33 slammed the first turn fence. The ensuing restart was all that Gastelu needed to take command as he moved to the front and was never headed the rest of the way. Even though Gastelu grabbed the lead early, the entire event was a struggle between his 69 and the Gold's Gym number 5 of Rich Ely. Ely shadowed Gastelu right to the final turn when 2 lap cars spun in front of the leaders. Gastelu was able to thread the needle between the wreckage and the 4th turn fence to take the win, while Ely got caught up in the accident to place 7th at the finish. Harry Havens in the 75 was the runner-up, with defending modern stock champ Jeff Carpenter in the 82 third, J.R. Hellberg in the 72 fourth, and Jerry Giordano in the 15 fifth. Ray Gastelu, you've had some tough weeks here, but now you're in for your third feature win. You have to feel good.
I sure do. The crew put a long week in this week. They changed the rear end setup in the car, brought back the speed we had in the beginning of the season, and the car really worked as good as it could work.
Only Chrysler in the field seems to be running right up with the rest of the competitors.
Well, we've been chasing it a little bit the last few weeks, and we caught up with it tonight, and we're back up there with the good times that you need to win a race.
Now, you talked about a lot of hard work by the crew. Who is in your pit crew?
Well, we have Alan Van Dusen and Gregory Gastelu, my brother, and they do a real good job, and they work hard on it to get it up front every week.
Tell us about your sponsors.
Well, the B&B Machine, A to Z Auto Service, and Rocco's Pizza, they help me out a lot, and that's what keeps me in tires and parts that I need to run up front.
Right now, you're in the lead of the point race. That's only pads it a little bit. You're looking forward to a championship?
Well, we're trying real hard, and we're trying to run consistently and get those finishes in the books, and that's what it takes, and we'll see what happens at the end of the year.
Kenny Reeves in the 8 won his third street stock main event of the year, coming from 14th on the starting grid. Rob Ellers was the first driver to pace the field as he put his 95 out front at the drop of the green. Frank Hacker in the 78 then moved up to the front on the 4th lap before the yellows winked on for a pileup at the exit of turn 2 that knocked out point leader Frank Van Arsdale in the 72. The ensuing restart saw the fireworks explode as cars scattered everywhere, sending the 15 of Mark Flores for a ride on the guardrail and leaving the 9 of John Cerny and the Ellers 95 sitting on the infield. Waddy Miller in the 18 then took command on the ensuing restart with Hacker's 78 second and Reeves 8 third. Reeves quickly moved up to second and then raced by Miller's 18 on the inside of the 4th turn and the front stretch to take the lead at the halfway mark. Moisture on the speedway that forced a few cars to spin slowed the action on the 15th lap, but it couldn't slow Reeves. Rich Moncho's 29 moved into second on the ensuing restart and chased Reeves' 8 across the finish line. Miller's 18 was there for third at the finish, with Chuck Chadaki's 41 fourth and Russ Cook's 39 fifth. Street stock feature race winner Kenny Reeves, your third win of the season. You have to be excited.
Yeah, I'm glad to be in a winner's circle once again.
Now, you started back in 14th. You took the lead on the halfway mark. Tell us about how you got through the pack.
Well, I had a little trouble on one of the restarts. The guy hit me right in the door. I thought I was going to have a flat or something, but I was able to keep the car rolling.
How about when you passed Waddy Miller at the halfway point? Any trouble getting by him?
Yeah, I did have a little trouble. I didn't know whether to go around him on the outside or underneath. I really don't remember how I got by him anyway.
Now, Kenny, you're right up there in the point race. Are you looking forward to a championship this year in the street stock division?
Well, I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm just going to keep running and try and win some features.
There's a small band of people here at Wall Stadium in charge of making sure the cars are legal for their divisions and also safe for racing. We call them the technical inspectors. Many people call them the tech cops here at Wall Stadium. Dave Hurley is one of our tech cops. We're going to talk to him about his job right now. Dave, you work here at the Speedway each and every Saturday night. Exactly what do you check over on the race cars? Do you look for safety first or for the rules first?
We go right around the car. This is what I do. I start with the seat. Now, the seat is important to the driver. The driver's got to be buckled in good. We check the harness. We check the net on the seat itself. Is it bolted in properly? We go next to the fuel cell. We check that, make sure the straps are around it like it's supposed to be. Underneath the car, we look for the straps that go around the drive shaft. On a race car, the state law says it's got to be 2 straps there. So we check for that. We check for the overflow can, make sure that's correct so you don't have an accident out on the speedway. Different things like that, Joe.
Now, you look at a lot of things on the race car. What do you feel is perhaps the most important safety item on the race car, or are they all equally important?
I would say each thing is important on a race car. You couldn't really take safety away. We don't want to take safety away. So I would say each and everything. The seat's important. The padding on the steering wheel, the padding on the roll cage itself. I mean, what would you take away, Jeff?
Well, there's really nothing to take away, that's for sure. New Jersey has been applauded by some people, criticized by others as one of the toughest states in the nation as far as racing safety. I think the record stands well. Very few fatalities in auto racing, never one here at Wall Stadium. Do you think they're too strict or just right?
I think they're just right. I really do. Safety, you can't be too safety-minded, I don't believe. I mean, you ask these guys, you say, hey, it's you out there in the car, you know? What would you give them, you know?
Now, do you find most drivers do a pretty good job with safety, or is there any one thing in particular they're a little shabby on that you catch and have to have them correct often?
What we really have to do is, like on Turkey Derby and races where we have a lot of out-of-state drivers, we have to really check those cars over, because like you said before, the other states aren't as strict as New Jersey, and we have to get them to comply to New Jersey rules before they can go out on the track.
Well, Dave Hurley here, one of the tech cops, you can see he's very excited and very emotional when it comes to the racing safety of these cars. Next, we'll go over to talk to Jim Cardinale. He's the expert motorman of this team.
Now, a little bit more.
What exactly does the rocking motion do here?
Turns the motor, it makes it easier than trying to turn it by hand. Back it up. We're trying to get it on top dead center so we can get a reading.
Now, am I right? That will get it so the piston's at the very top of the bore.
Top of the bore. And that tells us 9 or 10 to 1. Right now, we can't get a motor at all on this car. Can't get a reading.
So I imagine sometimes this job must be frustrating here, a situation like this. You have a lot of cars backed up.
Yeah, you got that right.
One last question, Jim Cardinale. A lot of people have asked, sometimes a car gets disqualified after a race due to a motor problem, an illegal part. Why can't all that be checked out before the races?
Well, right now all we do is seal them. It's up to the driver's responsibility to make sure that car is legal, because if I have to go under, tear the motor apart, I could possibly damage the motor. Rather than not have them race, it's better to have them race, put on a show, then we can see what problems we have in the motor, because we have to check numbers. We have all the tools over there to check the carburetors, check lifters, all the specs that's called for under the Wall Stadium rule book. Dave, he usually doing my state laws, so everything's state safe. And that's basically the problem. And street stock is even worse, because then you have to basically be a junkyard. Then I get out the books and find out which way the suspensions are supposed to be and make sure they're legal, which is very, very hard.
So what you're saying about the motors is if you took one apart, you'd have to take every motor in the pits apart, and you couldn't do that before the races. Just no way to do it.
No way to do it. This is not NASCAR where you have 2 days of specs on the cars, and then there's no guarantee after I inspect the car that he's not going to change it before going out racing. So it's better to get him after he raced. As soon as he gets off the track, doesn't have enough time to touch the car or do anything to it, to cheat.
So Jim Cardinale, you have a busy evening here at the races. You ever get to watch a race at all?
Sometimes I see a few. A couple of the features, that's about it.
Most of the time, he's busy around the hot motors, however, everyone. The technical cops with a tough job here at Wall Stadium, making sure the cars are safe, also making sure they're division legal. They have a tough job to hear every Saturday night behind the scenes at Wall Stadium. Well, the grandstands are filling up quickly here at Wall Stadium. Tom Crossan is kind of mingling around looking for an interesting subject. Let's go up to him now for a chat with the fan in the stands. Tom?
Thank you, Jeff. And here we are in the stands once again. And joining me tonight is my guest, Dave Corwin from Neptune. How you doing, Dave? How long you been coming out here to Wall Stadium, and what is it that keeps bringing you back?
Well, we've been coming out to Wall Stadium. I started when I was about 7 or 8 years old, coming up with a next-door neighbor and his kids, and we rooted for Parker Bones and Tommy Elliott back then. They were the 2 champions in their divisions, and I got away from them for a few years and came back in the 60s working in a gas station. You know, we'd come up in a tow truck, and it was a freeway in, you know, to the races, and I got to know a few of the people around. Don Stumpf was running then, and I hung out in a few body shops where they worked on the cars with Bernie Prentice and the boys over there, and I just like good racing, you know, and Wall happens to have some of the better racing around here. We go to some of the other tracks. We've been down to Bridgeport and out to Windsor. Haven't been to Flemington. We hit some of the other tracks up north, Thunder Road in Vermont and Stratford, Connecticut. This is our favorite. We like it here. You know, good fans here, and a lot of good racing, a lot of good drivers here. Clean racing here too. And with the new track, you know, when we get the outside groove going there, it's going to be real good here. They're going to get out of those lines they've been driving in. And it's just a nice place to come for the weekend, you know. We come in just about every Saturday night. You know, this is our favorite.
You mentioned watching the grooves and the lines and stuff like that and the good racing. Is there any particular division or drivers or a certain type of racing that you like?
No, you know, me and the wife come out and we like all the racing, you know. We just like good racing. We're race fans, you know. And I had a son-in-law that raced up here, Ray Borden. He raced in the street stocks. And my wife's cousin, Charlie Work, raced in modern stocks. And we root for all kinds of people. We root for Joe Hurley in the Mads and J.J. Jensen, you know, Harry Havens, and we're rooting for Jack Litton this year. We want to see him be the rookie champion.
In all this time, have you seen, is there any one or two races that stand out in your mind?
Yeah, well, the bad wreck that JJ had in the backstretch a couple years ago, and Ken Woolley went over the wall over in turn 4, and back in the 50s, I remember Tommy Elliott went over, I don't know if it was turn 1 or turn 2. There was one other guy that went over the wall, but I can't remember who he was. But I was here all those nights that somebody went over the wall.
Well, thank you, Dave, for being our guest this evening. This is Tom Crossan here in the stands. Be looking forward to seeing you all next week. Now we're going to take a short break. Then we'll be right back with more from Jeff and Let's Go Racing.
Rich Moncho is known by many as the king of the street stocks. He has 3 driving titles, 2 in the last 2 years. He also won the street stocks biggest race in 1990, the 50-lapper. That's coming up this weekend at the Speedway. We'll talk to him now. Rich, you have to be excited. 3 track titles must feel great.
Yeah, well, we worked hard at it. We got a lot of people helping us out. I think if it wasn't for the sponsors helping us, we couldn't be here every week.
Can you tell us a little bit about the sponsors on this race car?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Osborne's Auto Wreckers out of Howell Township. They supply me with transmissions, rears, any kind of body parts. Helps us out a lot. Another sponsor we got is Nunn & Son. He lettered a car for me. He's does boats professionally, but he figured he'd stray a little bit and try a car, and we like how it come out. We got Jim Hageman Racing Engines out of Lakewood. He just come aboard in the last couple weeks. I think with me and him working together, we can come up with a little bit better setup than we've been running and perhaps go a little bit faster.
Well, that's certainly not good news for your other competitors, seeing you're the champion the past 2 years. You won that 50-lapper a year ago. By the way, you mentioned, of course, about the hard work. I know you work hard on the race car. You have some other people that help you. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, Kevin McKnight, he's a real good mechanic. He helps us with just about anything. My younger brother, Joe, he runs one of the other cars, but he's always in the pits helping us. Russ Cook, another driver. He's always helping us out. We need a hand in the pits. And Chuck Jadaki, another driver. He helps us out too.
Now, you've mentioned before to me on several occasions your wife really a big supporter, and also your child. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, well, my wife is my biggest supporter, I guess. She backs me 100%, no matter what I got to do. She's right there behind me. My son, he keeps the car looking good. Cleans it, touches up the paint, stuff like that.
I understand your son already get involved in the sport in a way. He races radio control cars?
Yeah, he races radio control cars. He's got slot cars. He's got a couple go-karts he rides around with, stuff like that.
Now, Rich, I'm sure all the street stock drivers are watching this right now. Can you give them any hints on how to become supreme in the division, let's say, as you have been?
Well, I think the biggest thing that's helped me is to learn to drive with your head, not with your foot. You know, not put yourself in bad situations. And you got to be on the track when the checker flag falls. No matter if you're 1st or 10th, you got to be out there when the checker falls every week.
Do you usually charge to the front of the pack? You're usually starting in the back. Do you usually charge, or are you conservative? There's a lot of action out there on the track with the street stocks.
We usually give it about 5-6 laps, you know, and get behind somebody that's moving pretty good and just pick our way through the field nice and easy. Try not to get in any bad situations. And about halfway when the single file restarts come, most likely there'll be one, you know, after the halfway point. And then once you get the single file restarts, you can just get on the outside lane and pretty much go as fast as you can.
Now, you're the defending champion of the 50-lap street stock race, which is coming up this very weekend here at Wall Stadium. Number one, I remember last year was a great battle between you and Gary Burton. What do you remember about that?
Well, Gary led the race to about, I believe it was halfway, and when the halfway mark came out, I got on the inside of him coming off the 4th turn, and he drifted down a little bit. We hooked bumpers, and he spun out of the way. I got the lead, and I went on to win the race.
Is that your biggest memory, biggest thrill as far as your racing career, that 50-lap win?
Yeah, I guess so. We like to get in the Pocono field one of these years. We sat first alternate up there 2 years. So, yeah, I guess so far that's about it, yeah.
Now, with a 50-lap race coming up here this weekend, you're usually racing 20 lappers. Any different strategy at all to go the extra distance?
Yeah, well, we'll take our time a little more and save the tires, and the last 20 laps we'll give it all we got.
Now, you've got a lot of experience in the point race as well. You ride second right now in the point race. A lot of time to go yet this year. Are you worried about the points now, or do you concentrate on them later on in the season?
Well, we got a couple double point races coming up, so I think we'll see what happens on those double pointers. If we're in good shape after that, then we can look forward to another championship.
Well, there you have it, the king of the street stocks, Rich Moncho, giving us a little bit of the inside story of how he runs his race team, not letting out too many secrets to those competitors, because Rich Moncho, if at all possible, wants to have his 3rd straight and 4th overall title when the season ends in late October. They've been racing stock cars here at Wall Stadium for 42 years. One of the car owners that has been here the entire time is Don Peak. Harry Hurley talks to him now. Harry?
Thanks, Jeffrey. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight my guest is Tom Peak, one of the unsung legends of New Jersey racing. Tom has owned and built many a car since 1959, 1954, somewhere around there. Tom, tell me, how did you get involved in racing?
Well, basically, I started to go at a couple of shows and watched in Long Branch, the old Long Branch Stadium, and then it was just a matter of falling for it, and I went everywhere after that. Well, I've been down here at Wall Stadium ever since it opened, every Saturday night, except for 53 and 54 when I was in the Army, every Saturday night.
And then you started building your own cars after you got out of the service, is that right?
Yeah, after I got out in 55, I was with Carl Gardella with the Lenny Brown 6-cylinder till 59. Then we started building our own cars from 59 right till the present date. We always had a car here every year, and sometimes 2. Right up to date with Dick Disbrow.
Tell me, Don, who are some of the famous Jersey Shore driving legends that have raced for you?
Well, I don't know whether they were some of the big modified drivers or not, but like Stan Van Brunt and Tom Green was the 2 that we started out with, and Stan did pretty good. He had the state championship in 1961, along with the track championship here at Wall and Old Bridge. And Tom Green drove the twin car to it in 62, I think it was, and they both were very good. A lot of wins.
Well, you raced at a lot of different tracks, did you, Tom?
Yeah, we ran here at Wall and Old Bridge and New Egypt or Fort Dix, whatever name you want to call it. We, Flemington, East Windsor, and we also ran at it was a small quarter-mile asphalt track where the Heightstown track is now. Before this was built, there was a little asphalt track there, and we ran there too. Vineland, we've been all over pretty much. One special novice race in them days they had at Trenton. We were there when Trenton was around, and we've been pretty much all over.
Tell me, you've been in racing a lot of years. What keeps you going, Don?
Just the fun of the sport, I guess. It sure isn't the money, and it's a lot of hard work and time. It's just the fun of it, I guess.
And I bet you had your wife behind you 100%?
Yeah, she really is. She's been good. Not much complaints at all, except some Saturday nights you'd like to get away from here.
One more question. When you started building stock cars back in the late 50s, what did it cost you to put a top flight car out on the track?
Well, in real figures, I don't know, but it was nothing to what it is today. I mean, a couple $100, you did miracles back in them days.
Don Peak, thank you very much for being my guest tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Harry Hurley saying, be the good Lord willing, we'll see you all again next week.
Next week on Let's Go Racing, highlights of June 22nd action here at Wall Stadium. Plus, we'll talk to another race driver. We'll also have another inside look at auto racing. Tom Crossan will chat with another fan in the stands. And Harry Hurley will talk with another racing legend. I'm Jeff Gravatt. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next week on Let's Go Racing.